My name is Jackson Kingsley and welcome to the Video Selling Blueprint. I'll be your mentor through this process, teaching you how to consistently land new clients and charge the rates you deserve, and how I grew my video production business from nothing to landing $5,000, $10,000 and $20,000 deals with globally recognized brands and broadcasters. With the results I've been getting, I've been having a lot of people ask me how I do it and if I can teach them to do the same. So the goal with the Video Selling Blueprint is to teach you step by step everything I do so you can quickly implement the same strategies into growing your business and hopefully achieve the same results. In this video I'm going to be talking about one of the things I get asked about most, how I consistently land big deals and the principles you need to understand to do the same. In my research and in my personal experience, I see stunning videos make no money and technically speaking crap videos, say shot on an iPhone, where the company has paid upwards of $20,000. I see videos on Vimeo that are almost good as Christmas or Super Bowl commercials, but I guarantee they're not making almost as much money. So why is it that some people can charge $1,000, some can charge $5,000 and even $100,000? To put it another way, a large company may charge 10 or 20 times that of a freelancer, yet the product isn't necessarily 10 or 20 times better. Why is that, and does it have to be that way? There are three core concepts I'm going to talk about in this video: time, value, and risk. Imagine if a Super Bowl ad doesn't go well for Budweiser. Their brand is compromised, their perceived value goes down, and they can lose millions of dollars in revenue. The distribution and advertising also costs them millions of dollars, getting it out there to be seen by the right audience, putting it in cinemas, or even just online. The cost is high and the risk is too. On the other side of the coin, if a small independent retailer puts out a bad video, assuming that anyone watches it in the first place, there's dramatically less risk for them. So, as we can see, the creative quality of the work isn't actually the determining factor for how much the creator gets paid. We have to factor in the value it provides to the client and the risk involved. A long-term client of mine recently came to me and confessed that he'd used two other production companies because his client had requested them. They were significantly cheaper than me, but in both instances the other company messed up. One lost some of the footage and the other didn't get the shots that they needed. The consequences cost the client thousands of pounds, and after that the client swore he'd always come to me first. So how do you charge more for your services? Before you offer anything, any ideas or services, you need to get certain information from the client to work out what the value of the product is going to be for them. If you want to be able to charge based on value to the client, you need to be able to work out what that potential value is. What is the value of a beautiful cinematic commercial? Well, it depends on who it's for. To Coca-Cola, it could be worth $1 million. To a pizzeria, it might just be worth a pizza. Before we go any further, I would just want to make sure this is clear. This entire process is about working out what the value is to the client, so don't go expecting to sell a small retailer on the same commercial you'd be making for a big brand. Before selling a big idea, we need to know what the client is worth. This ultimately tells us what they can afford, what we can charge for our services. To do this, we need to transition from being a creative who talks about creative ideas and technical features to a business who can talk about business concepts like revenue and return on investment. To work out what the return on investment is, we need to know more about their revenue. To summarize, I do this in 3 stages. First, I ask where their revenue comes from. Let's take for example the pizzeria. Through asking questions, I found out that, as expected, that 70% of their revenue comes from selling pizzas. This tells me that this would be the main area of focus for creating a video that increases sales for that company. Next, I find out what the value is per new customer. So let's say each new customer on average spends $20 and from that $4 is profit. The customers are likely to return on average once a month, and therefore we can see that the average yearly profit on each new customer is around $48. Now, if your video brings in anywhere between 10 and 50 new customers, that's an additional $480 to $2,400 profit in the first year. How do you think a business would realistically be willing to pay for a video based on those numbers? Definitely not more than $2.5 grand and possibly not more than $500. So to me, this sounds like a massive waste of time and energy. Let's flip the situation, use an example of a company that sells software to schools. The profit margins are much higher and the company makes around $10,000 for each new client. If your video is able to bring in just 10 new clients, that's an additional $100,000 of profit in the first year. So how much do you think that client would be willing to pay based on those numbers? I'd say at least 10 to 20% of that, because at 20% that's still a 5-to-1 return on investment and a very achievable goal for you of bringing in 10 new customers. Before we finish this segment, there's one other key takeaway for you. Remember in the film Inception how they go to great length to plant an idea in the subject's mind? The point was that an idea that comes from within is far more powerful than just being told the answer. This is the first thing you need to keep in mind when talking to a client. You're not there to tell them the answers, and trust me, soon you'll know them long before they do. You're there to get them to discover the answers themselves. To do this, you need to ask the right questions. These questions I go into greater detail on in the next section. I suggest going through the whole course before implementing these ideas, because a lot of them go hand in hand with each other. If you've got any questions, then don't hesitate to get in touch with me directly at jackson@5dayfilm.com. I hope you enjoy the course and best of luck with growing your video production business.